My name's Lucas. I'm 36, an architect, living in Stockholm. My wife, Elena, 34 and a marketing executive, has been my best friend and companion for the past 5 years of marriage. We met at a cafe near Gamla stan, the old town of Stockholm. She was this lively, ambitious woman with a spark in her eyes that instantly drew me in. We clicked. Life with her was beautiful. But over the past year, something changed. Elena started traveling more frequently for work. At first, I didn't mind. Her job required her to network and attend conferences all over Europe: Milan, Paris, Berlin, London. It made sense. Her position in marketing was growing, and this was just part of the deal, right? But slowly, the excitement I used to feel when she came home after these trips was replaced by a growing sense of unease. The calls became shorter, the messages more formal. She started staying longer during weekends, claiming that the company needed her to finish some presentations. I brushed it off, reassuring myself that this was the price of being married to a successful woman. Until one evening, everything changed. The discovery. It was a cold Friday in November. I was sitting at our kitchen table, working on a blueprint for a new residential building project, when Elena called. "Hey, love," she said, her voice unusually distant. "I'm going to need to stay in Gothenburg for the weekend. Something came up at work." I felt a knot form in my stomach. Normally, I'd just say, "Of course, no problem," and go on with my day. But this time, something inside me urged me to check. Maybe it was the months of growing doubts, or perhaps I had already noticed the signs but hadn't wanted to admit it. When she left that evening, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I knew where she stayed during her trips to Gothenburg, an apartment provided by her company. I had been there before when we'd met up for a weekend getaway, so I had a spare key. I told myself I'd go there to settle my nerves, to prove to myself that everything was fine. The next morning, I packed an overnight bag and drove 3 hours west to Gothenburg. Her apartment was quiet, almost sterile, as if she didn't spend much time there. I went through her things carefully, not really expecting to find anything. I opened her wardrobe, and at the very back, behind a stack of neatly folded sweaters, I found it. A small pack of condoms. I froze. Elena and I hadn't used condoms in years. We were both comfortable and didn't feel the need for them. So why were they here? My mind raced, with every possible explanation. Maybe they were old, maybe they weren't hers, maybe she didn't even realize they were there. But deep down, I knew better. I stared at the pack for what felt like hours, feeling a flood of anger, betrayal, and confusion. In that moment, my mind wasn't thinking logically. I grabbed a pin from her sewing kit on the desk and, with trembling hands, began poking tiny holes in each condom. It was an act of rage, pure and simple, one that I didn't fully understand even as I was doing it. When I left her apartment, I was numb. I felt victorious, in the most petty, vindictive way. I didn't have a plan, no long-term strategy, just raw, impulsive emotion driving me forward. Lucas, inner turmoil. The next few days were a blur. Elena came back from Gothenburg on Sunday evening, as if nothing had happened. She kissed me on the cheek, told me she missed me, and acted like everything was normal. I couldn't bring myself to confront her. Instead, I watched her more closely. I started noticing things: how she would take her phone to the bathroom more often, or how she'd step out for a quick call with her boss and return 20 minutes later, flustered. She seemed more distant, her laughter forced, her touch colder. It felt like she was drifting away from me, like the woman I had fallen in love with was disappearing, bit by bit. I didn't tell anyone what I had done. How could I? How do you explain to someone that you found condoms in your wife's apartment and decided to sabotage them? I thought about confiding in my best friend, Marcus, but something stopped me. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was fear that he'd judge me for being paranoid. Or worse, tell me what I already suspected: that Elena was cheating. As the days passed, I couldn't shake the guilt that gnawed at me. Had I crossed a line? Was there a chance that those condoms were just an innocent mistake? My mind replayed the moment I poked holes in them over and over again. It was reckless. What if she didn't even use them? The confrontation. One night, about a week later, I was sitting on the couch, pretending to watch TV, while Elena worked on her laptop beside me. I could hear her phone vibrating in the other room. She ignored it at first, but then, after the third vibration, she stood up abruptly. "I need to take this," she muttered, heading to the bedroom and closing the door behind her. I didn't think, I acted. I crept quietly to the bedroom door and pressed my ear against it. Her voice was low, but I could make out fragments of the conversation. "Yes, I miss you too. No, I don't know when I'll see you again. It's complicated." My heart sank. I backed away from the door, my hands shaking, my breath coming in short, rapid bursts. I didn't wait for her to finish the call. I grabbed my coat, told her I needed to step out for a walk, and left the apartment. Outside, the cold November air bit into my skin, but I barely noticed. I wandered through the empty streets of Stockholm, my mind racing with questions. Who was she talking to? How long had this been going on? Was I the fool who had been living in blissful ignorance all this time? When I returned home, Elena was already in bed. I lay down beside her, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me, but I still couldn't confront her. I wanted to catch her red-handed, to have undeniable proof before I shattered our lives. The breaking point. A week later, Elena told me she had another business trip to Milan. This time, I couldn't suppress my suspicions. I remembered the condoms I had tampered with and felt a dark sense of satisfaction. Let her go. Let her think she's safe. If she used them with him, it would only be a matter of time before something went wrong. But curiosity got the better of me. While she was away, I decided to visit her Gothenburg apartment once more. I don't know what I expected to find. Maybe more condoms, maybe some love letters, maybe nothing. But what I did find was far worse. Tucked into her travel bag was a receipt for a luxury hotel in Milan, dated 2 weeks ago, along with a romantic text thread on her laptop from a man named Antonio. The messages were explicit, filled with promises to see each other soon, to spend another magical weekend together. I sat there in shock, staring at the evidence. There it was, the confirmation I had been dreading. Elena had been seeing someone else. A wave of anger surged through me. I wanted to confront her, to scream at her, to make her feel the same pain I was feeling. But I didn't. Instead, I let her come home from Milan, unaware of what I knew, still playing the role of the doting husband. I wanted to see how far she would take this. Elena's confession. 2 weeks after her return from Milan, I was sitting at the kitchen table again, pretending to be engrossed in my work, when Elena walked in. She looked different, tired, drained, like the weight of the world was on her shoulders. I braced myself. "Lucas," she began softly, "we need to talk." My heart raced. This was it. She sat across from me, avoiding eye contact. I haven't been honest with you. There's something you need to know." She hesitated, her voice trembling. "I've been seeing someone else," she confessed, her words barely a whisper. "It started a few months ago, a colleague from Milan. His name is Antonio." The world seemed to stop. "But it's over," she continued quickly. "I ended it after the last trip. I realized what a mistake I'd made. I love you, Lucas. I don't want to lose you." I sat there stunned, unable to process what she was saying. The confession I had wanted for so long had finally come. But it felt hollow. All I could think about were the condoms, the holes I had poked in them out of spite, and how pointless it all seemed now. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The aftermath. Elena and I decided to separate, though not out of hatred or resentment. We had both been hurt, both made mistakes, and the trust between us had been irrevocably broken. She moved out of our apartment, and I stayed behind, haunted by the ghosts of our past. In the end, the thing that sticks with me the most isn't her betrayal, it's mine. I thought poking holes in those condoms was a way to get even, to make her pay for what she'd done. But all it did was drag me further into the darkness. Now I'm trying to move forward, to learn from the mistakes we both made. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that revenge never brings closure. It only creates more holes, in your heart and in your soul. Sometimes, the holes we create for others become the very traps that ensnare us. Thanks for reading, everyone. Have any thoughts or questions about the story? Drop your comments below. Feel free to share, like, and discuss. I'd love to hear what you think. How would you have handled it?